If you've played JRPGs, chances are there's going to be that one that sticks out that completely redefines the way that you experience storytelling within that genre. And for me, it was Final Fantasy X. I mean, I had played some great RPGs and JRPGs before that came out, but when Final Fantasy X released on the PlayStation 2, something just completely resonated with me that I wasn't expecting. The voice acting, the way that it was presented, and the way that the characters interacted, it all made the story feel really, human in a way that I wasn't used to. And somewhere along the journey of Final Fantasy X, I realized I wasn't just enjoying the adventure anymore. I was actually emotionally invested in what was happening in the world for the very first time. And this was a new feeling for me, and it completely changed how I thought about storytelling in games. So in today's video, we're going to unpack Final Fantasy X a little bit from like an emotional angle and kind of understand, at least from where I'm coming from, why this game was the first game to make me feel something. And honestly, I'll never forget it. So before we talk about that anymore, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave your comments down below. How do you pronounce Titus? How do you pronounce Titus? I would love to know. So let's get to the video and let's kind of deep dive into the emotions and the storytelling importance of Final Fantasy X. One of the smartest things about Final Fantasy X is how simple the core of the game is. I mean, at the start, it's basically framed as a journey across the world, aside from Titus getting sucked into this wormhole into somewhere completely new. And this is what really frames the story and the themes of the game, because you don't know anything about this world and you're viewing it through Titus's eyes. He's basically the camera of the game, and we're learning everything along the way just the same as him. Now, when we meet Yuna, we learn about summoners, and summoners in Spira undertake a pilgrimage. And the idea is that they travel from temple to temple, gaining the power of the Aeons, which are like the summons of the game, until they're finally strong enough to defeat this evil that's been perpetuating in the world called sin. Now, on paper, it almost sounds like a traditional heroic quest, but what makes it work really well is, like I said before, the game lets you live inside that journey for a long time, seeing everything through Titus's eyes until that curtain starts to get pulled back. You spend hours traveling with this group of characters, going from town to town, meeting people who look up to Yuna, and slowly getting a sense of how deeply the world believes in this specific tradition. Everywhere you go, people treat summoners like heroes, and there is this sense that what Yuna is doing is really sacred and very necessary. And the longer the journey goes on, the more the tone kind of subtly shifts. Little details start creeping in that make the pilgrimage feel heavier than when it first kicked off. Characters speak about it with some real seriousness, and some of the Guardians seem more protective than you might think, and eventually start to realize that this is not just some brave quest to defeat a monster. There is a significant cost attached to it. And what's great about the pacing here is that this story does not rush you to that realization. You get comfortable with the idea of the pilgrimage first. It lets you believe in it the same way that everybody in the world of Spira believes in it. So when the truth finally starts coming out about how the cycle works, it does not feel like a random twist. I mean, this is the twist in the game. It feels like everything around you has just suddenly crumbled, and then you see the world and, the story of the game for what it really is. And that's when the story of Final Fantasy X stops feeling like a simple adventure and starts feeling like something much heavier. One big reason why this works is the cast of the game. Now, not every JRPG party or cast works as well as everybody here collectively does in Final Fantasy X, and that is a serious strong point of this game. I mean, sometimes in other games, characters can feel disconnected from each other. Oftentimes, they have their own backstory or maybe a quick moment in the spotlight, and then the story moves on. But the group dynamic in Final Fantasy X is drastically different. These characters really do feel like people traveling together, and like I said before, a big part of this comes from the perspective of Titus. He is an outsider to the world of Spira, which means he's constantly asking questions about everything. Why do people accept sin as an inevitable part of life? Why does the pilgrimage have to work this way? Why are certain traditions never challenged? Because Titus did not grow up in that world, he can look at it from a completely different angle, and chances are you have the same questions while you're playing the game as well. And this perspective ends up being really important as the story unfolds. Then you have Yuna, who is honestly one of the most impressive characters in the entire series. She's ready to help everybody, but underneath that kindness is the knowledge that she's working towards a fate that she's accepted for most of her life. And that internal conflict is always going to be there. And even in the lighter moments of the story, you can really tell that's there, honestly. And The rest of the group helps flesh out the world even more. Waka represents somebody who genuinely believes in the traditions of spirit and the religion, and Oren has this presence that hints that there's something going on underneath that facade. So the result is a party that does not exist just to fight battles, and while they do it quite well. I love the battle system of Final Fantasy X. They're constantly reacting to the world around them, maybe challenging each other's beliefs, and eventually at the end of the game coming to terms with the reality of the world and the situation they're in. And by the time you reach, the later parts of the story, it feels like you've been on this journey with a group of friends and people that you're deeply connected to rather than just a bunch of random NPCs. Now, the big selling point for Final Fantasy X for me at that age that I played this game, I think I was probably 8 or 9, was the voice acting. Now, this is the first time I had ever experienced voice acting in a game. And it's one thing to be able to read the dialogue and the text boxes of the characters on, Final Fantasy 7 or 8. You really don't get that same emotional gut punch as you do with a voice performance. And hearing all these characters along the way was a serious reason why I started to feel something for the first time when playing a game, like the emotional delivery of James Arnold Taylor playing Tidus, questioning everything, or, Yuna being a little bit more subdued throughout her performance was really just unlike anything I had experienced at that time and at that age in games. I mean, even small exchanges between the group felt more natural because they sounded like actual conversations instead of being lines read off a script. I mean, that's what great voice actors do. They deliver what the scene calls for. And looking back now, voice acting is just a normal part of games in general when, games do have it. But when Final Fantasy X came out, it genuinely changed how this story could be experienced. Instead of imagining the emotion behind each scene like you did with every other game that came before it, you heard it. And for me and a lot of other players, that made this journey feel a heck of a lot more personal than anything in the series had done before. So I cannot talk about the emotions and the storytelling importance of Final Fantasy X without mentioning this groundbreaking part of the game, voice acting. Who would have thought? It's something we definitely take for granted now. Now, hang on, before we get any further, I also wanted to let you know that almost 90% of the people that watch my channel on the regular are not subscribed. So if you like these kind of videos and you want more content every week in your YouTube subscription feed, I would love to have you. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and also I would love to know your comments on today's video as well. Anyway, more video right now. Now, by the time Final Fantasy X reaches its final act, the story has really built up an incredible amount of emotional weight. What started as a hopeful journey across spirit has really turned into something a lot more complicated. Everybody here understands the truth behind the pilgrimage and the cycle that's been repeating itself for generations. And at that point, the question is, how do we defeat sin? But the question is whether the system itself should exist at all. And that's where everything becomes really powerful. I mean, these characters aren't just fighting a monster anymore. A bit of a cliche thing here, confronting God or confronting the belief system that the entire world has accepted for centuries. It is a trope, but it does work and works really well here. So breaking that cycle means challenging traditions and even the hopes that people have held on to for their entire lives. And it's some great critical thinking that you can kind of take away from this game as well. What can I challenge that I've believed in for my whole life? Is there something that I've become complacent with? And all that leads into one of the most emotionally memorable endings in games in general. I mean, without getting overly dramatic about it, the final moments between Tidus and Yuna are super, super emotional. And the reason those scenes land so hard is because the game has spent the entire journey building up their relationship in small, natural moments. You see them grow closer, support each other, and then slowly realize what the future demands from both of them. And the real twist is that Tidus is the one that challenges Yuna's fate. At the end of the game, he's the one that ends up disappearing instead of Yuna. So it is a real emotional gut punch. And yeah, so when the ending arrives, it doesn't feel like the story pulling a sudden emotional twist. It's like a natural conclusion to everything that's been building throughout this entire time. And for a lot of players, including me, that ending has just stuck with me many, many years or decades now after the credits have rolled. So looking back now, I mean, there's obviously many JRPGs that have pushed storytelling even further since Final Fantasy X came out. Things have improved. Technology has improved. Voice acting has become a standard in these kind of games, and modern games can really create some incredibly cinematic moments. But there's something about experiencing that shift for the very first time on the PlayStation 2 in the early 2000s that is just so hard to replicate. And Final Fantasy X was a moment where JRPG storytelling suddenly felt more human, more intimate, and more grounded. I mean, hearing characters speak their lines instead of reading them made everything feel a lot more personal and close to you. Spending hours traveling across Spirit with this group made everything feel real and tangible. And when the story was finished, it was the first time I remember, experiencing that game and just letting it sink in. And I still think I'm in a period of letting it sink in, because oftentimes I'll just think about the ending and get chills. And that's why that game still stands out to me after all these years. And not all of this is because it's just a great JRPG, but this was the first game that showed me how powerful storytelling in this medium could really be. And once you experience these kind of moments in a game, it changes the way you look at the entire genre. So that's my experience with Final Fantasy X. A little bit broad, but I don't want to ramble forever. I love this game. I had such an emotional connection to it. The music, the characters, and even the world. And that's why somebody like me loves Final Fantasy X too as much as I do, and the secret ending as well, because I'm such a softie for the love story that is Tidus and Yuna. So there you go. There's my 2 cents on it. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment and like and subscribe. And I would love to hear your thoughts on your vibes with the storytelling and the emotions that Final Fantasy X has to offer. So thanks for watching again, and we'll see you on another video next week. Bye-bye.